Hi, and welcome to the I T'd Myself podcast. My name is Matthew Miniman, and this is episode 80. What can Jawas teach us about IT, guys? So, Jawas, if you've never heard of them, then you're probably not going to understand the vast majority of this episode, which is okay. You'll get there eventually. It's only been 55 fucking years, so, you got time. Anyway, Jawas. Jawas are essentially IT guys. If you think about it, if you watch them, I mean, look, IT guys in general are great. Like, and there's a wide range, especially now. There's a wide range of IT guys of IT types of IT guys. Not everybody is the same. I myself, I don't know that you would categorize me as an IT guy if you saw me walking around on the street. Mainly because, this is my fourth career being in IT. So, I've had quite a bit to get here. But really, every IT guy I've ever met kind of follows through the same kind of characteristics. And they do match up really well with Jawas. Because here's some things about all IT guys that you'll see. Every IT guy, maybe this is every male, I don't know, but every IT guy, at least, has a giant box of cables that will never be used. I myself have a giant box of cables that has cables from the 80s still in it. And, I've got all sorts of crazy crap in there that I'll probably never use, but I'm not going to throw it away because I have all these cables. In another box, I've got a shit ton of other hardware, like old hardware that I'm never going to touch. I've got the original Android cell phone in one of my boxes. Am I ever going to use that? No. The screen's still intact. It still works, but I'm never going to use it. But I still have it because I might need it one day. And that's kind of how Jawas work. They've got this giant chip where they just collect all this technology. And they try to, put some of it to use, but the vast majority of it just sits around and it kind of stagnates. Another way that Jawas are like IT guys is they're extremely insular. I mean, if you think about it, Jawas really only ever hang out with other Jawas. The one Jawa that you saw not hanging out with other Jawas got himself ganked in a Tatooine bar. I mean, pretty much a telltale sign. He's an IT guy. They also have inside jokes. I mean, if you think about it, anytime they celebrate, it's just an inside joke. And, this whole episode is essentially an inside joke to IT guys. I'm sure everybody will get it because I am not subtle. Anyway, other ways that Jawas are like IT guys is that generally IT guys are fairly bad at a lot of stuff. But we try so many things. And that's one of the things that you see with Jawas as well. They are trying desperately to do everything, including being a business owner. And based on the state of their ship, their little sand crawler thingy, they are all always rusted and sometimes burned out to husks after they meet the Imperials, which is interesting considering that they have all of this other weaponry that they use to attack bots and whatnot. But anyway, they can lose to stormtroopers who can't hit the broadside of a barn with a 40-mile-per-hour laser. Anyway, well, the other aspects of Jawas is that they are collectors. They collect a lot of stuff. It's not just hardware that they collect everything. I mean, anything that looks neat or interesting, kind of like, just scavengers. And I don't know if you've ever been into an IT department, but one of the things you'll probably find is that there's hardware stacked everywhere. I remember one position I had, I walked into the IT closet and there was just gobs and gobs and gobs of hardware that had no purpose anymore. Like there were plastic pieces to computers that didn't exist. There were these floppy disks. They're not 5 1/4. They were 7.5 inch floppy disks. And I don't know that I've ever seen that standard of floppy disk. And, that might be because I'm a youngin', but goddamn, I've never seen a fucking 7.5 inch floppy. Man, I'm just going to leave that right there. Holy shit. But the, that's sort of the thing that you see with, that's kind of the thing you see with hoarders is you see just absolute gobs of stuff because I might need it one day. And like IT guys are that with hardware always. And it's not just their personal collection, like with the box of cables that I got, but it's also with computer parts. We're always looking to reuse or utilize computer parts in new and interesting ways. I have older computers that I've set aside and they're doing certain things in my house. You know, setting up, you can set up, you can do anything with older hardware. And maybe I'll do an entire episode on how you can recycle your old hardware to be useful again or to continue to be useful in the future. But, IT guys tend to take that to an extreme. One of the things that we got caught with in a previous position is we had a retro station, basically an emulation station to play old console games set up off of old hardware that we had just deprecated, and we were going to recycle, and we're like, let's use it for something fun. And yeah, we put that in the server room, and the president CEO walked through, saw it, and immediately thought, oh, that's all we did all day was just play video games. And I was like, no, but it was something that we thought would be fun to do. Anyway, we got in trouble for that. Aside from that kind of thing, one of the things they don't show Jawas doing is their off time, which is interesting because I'd be pretty goddamn certain that Jawas, all they do all day, if they're not playing or if they're not working, they're probably playing a board game or something. And I'd guarantee you that you can't find an IT guy who isn't interested in playing a board game, a new board game. You got a new board game? We're down to play it. What? You've got Settlers of Catan? Set that bitch up, because goddamn it, I'm gonna use that robber. I'm gonna use that robber to steal some stuff. Anyway, that IT guys generally are very silly when it comes to games and relaxation, really at all. And a lot of it is because we are very dedicated to our craft. One of the things that you'll notice about IT specifically as a job is that it's very difficult to have a set schedule all the time because emergencies happen after hours a lot, and IT guys kind of need to just work whenever there's an emergency. Like you don't necessarily have a finance emergency that requires you to stay after hours. I'm sure there are instances where that will happen, but that can be mitigated by, doing the work right and having the proper math and so on and so forth, and making sure that the business is legally following the rules, all that. So finance is a slow moving iceberg, whereas a IT job, it can be impactful like a meteor or an asteroid hitting a planet, because the emergencies happen and they're disastrous, and they don't happen on any expectation or any expected scenario. So when an emergency happens, you frequently have to go and handle it after hours. Plus, you have maintenance tasks that you have to take care of after hours, which you don't have with a lot of other jobs. You don't have this window where you need to work after everybody else is done working. There's not a lot of scenarios that occur with that, but that's a very frequent thing in IT. And Maybe that's one of the reasons why you don't see Jawas in their off time, aside from that one who got ganked at a bar, because you are IT guys are pretty constantly always trying to work and improve their craft and do things, and it can be detrimental. And again, I had a whole series of episodes, and I still believe very strongly that you as an IT person need to have a very strict everybody, not just IT people, but everybody needs to have a strict, defined work-life boundary. You need to have a balance there, and you need to make sure you have your boundaries. But IT guys tend to have that kind of more flexible than a lot of other professions, just because of how emergencies need to be responded to, when they need to be responded to, and how often regular work needs to happen. So, all that being said, basically what I'm saying is Jawas are, you always see them working. You never not see them working. It's always something that they're doing to progress. You also, see Jawas fuck up a lot in spectacular ways, like, try to sell a droid that it is about to explode. Yet that happens not infrequently as well. And I hate to say that the IT can sometimes be more of an art than a science, but kinda, mainly because we're working with so many different pieces of technology like Jawas that it can be difficult to get compatible things in the right order all the time. And they can fail in spectacular, confusing, and often detrimental ways. And it's not necessarily a problem with IT guys, but it is a result of how technology is implemented across the board, and how it's not just a matter of making it work. It is, can it even work together? Now, I will say that younger IT guys, newer IT guys that are coming into their own and haven't necessarily had the experiences that you'll have with IT guys that have been there for a while, or who have done a lot, or have worked in IT for a long, long time. They'll have more of those moments where they failed, and it kind of fails spectacularly in front of everybody. But it happens to all of us, and again, it's kind of the nature of the beast, where you are attempting to support a vast and complicated system, no matter what you're doing. And sometimes that vast and complicated system can have weird side effects, such as, you decide you want to install the latest Ubuntu operating system on a server, and you want to install a service on that server, and you don't realize that service is not compatible with the latest Ubuntu operating system. So, you try to install it, and you spend 6 hours fucking with it, and the error messages are very vague and broad. And the only reason you identify what the problem is the fact that when you go to the support website and the documentation, there's just a lack of documentation from 2504. Not speaking from experience at all. No, not at all. Never that this ever happened. I never do this. But it's totally a thing that can happen. And that's kind of how Jawas work as well. Another thing that you'll see commonality with Jawas and IT guys is, if you leave your computer near them, it will be taken apart. Like, we will try to scrap that bitch, man. We're taking the wheels, we're taking the drives, we're taking the RAM, we're putting it into other stuff. We're gonna see what we can do with this technology. So, don't leave your spaceship near anywhere where a Jawa is. Uh, other aspects of IT guys that we can kind of identify is that, or identify with Jawas, is that we're always trying to make things work better. The This is for more of the deeper, guys who have gone really far into the books and whatnot. But the Jawas are always trying to make their environment better. They're always trying to rise in stature in their environment, and they do that by succeeding in technology implementation or repair. And it's kind of cool because they get kudos internally. Like there are internal kudos that they get, and it's a big deal to them. And that is also how it works in IT. One of the greatest aspects of working in IT is the fact that there's a lot of open information and sharing of information across the planet, across the industry, to help everybody, so that everybody can see and experience and get things working appropriately. And part of the reason why this podcast exists is to share some of that information across. You know, we as IT guys, while we are insular and while we concentrate on our own craft and whatnot, part of the entire reason why we do this is because we like to see each other succeed and also be a part of other people's success. So, we like to contribute. We like to sit there and help, forums and blog posts and technology summits, networking, those are big things for IT folk. And to be there and to help each other contribute and to kind of get those internal kudos points. I mean, for fuck's sake, there's an entire website. It's called Spiceworks. And if you've never been there as an IT guy, you might want to take a look at it. It's kind of neat. But basically, it's a place where it's just a giant forum where you can ask technical questions. And when you answer technical questions, there's upvoting like there are on other social media platforms. But the higher you get in upvotes, the higher your spice level is. And, you can get up to like Carolina Reaper pepper spice level, which is pretty fucking high. But yeah, the more people you help, the higher your kudos are. And it's just it has no impact on the real world, but it's nice to have. It's kind of like gamifying your contribution to an industry, which is cool. So, I'll close out with Jawas are also not terribly useful in a fight, which, again, dude got ganked at a bar. Now, he, was between a Jedi and a bandit, but, dude got ganked. And, IT guys, we're not great in a fight. And I don't know that I've ever met, there are very few IT guys that I've met that actively seek out confrontation. Now, we're pedantic and we like to argue, but you put us in an actual confrontation with, where money matters or where there's something on the line, and it gets kind of hard for us to function as a group. And part of that might be because of how pedantic we are. We're constantly having to argue, and we argue ourselves out of positions of strength. And that is kind of the difficult thing about about being an IT guy, is that we are so pedantic. We are so goddamn honest with ourselves. It's like, yeah, I really would rather spend the money to do this, but you're right, man. We don't have to buy new servers. I can make the hardware work for another fucking year. You're right. I can totally do it. Let's just figure it out. Yeah, that is totally a thing that IT guys will do. They will back down on budget requests and refreshing hardware. It's part of the reason why every single fucking environment I've ever walked into has 5 servers in there that are all just dog shit. They're old as fuck. And nobody, not a single goddamn person, knows why they're still there other than, well, we can't get rid of them. That's it. That's all they fucking say. And I can almost guarantee you it's because the decision was made to not replace that hardware because we don't really use it all that much and it doesn't matter. Except, it's fucking, it can't be updated. It's old as shit. It doesn't really work. And if it were to get compromised, it'd just be a leverage point for an attacker to move to pivot from point to point across the network. Yeah. IT guys are like that. And and so, that is one of the things that we can strive to do better as IT folk, as IT people, and to improve, you know, because unlike Jawas, IT people are real. We can do. We don't have to try. We can actually do. And we have the capacity to impact businesses positively in the right ways to make their to make things better. And that's not to say that IT guys should be given just an un an unmeasured amount of rope or an unmeasured amount of leeway to just do whatever they want. That's definitely not true because we're also chaotic. I'd say on the alignment chart, we're chaotic good. Just about every IT guy is probably chaotic good or chaotic neutral at worst. So, we're not really giving us the amount of runway or freedom to do just whatever we want. Probably also not a good thing, but giving us the ability to do the things that we need to do and not making us fight for them as much as you would other places is important. But I understand that for the vast majority of organizations, IT is not a profit center; it is a loss center. And so spending money and just spending money, all IT ever does is just spend money. But the effort to spend money is always in the effort to keep everything running. And so to listen to your IT guy and understand that when they're going to spend you money, it's trying to actually save you money and time in the future. Because if you go down, then you're going to be stuck without a spaceship in the middle of nowhere while a bunch of IT guys are tearing apart every aspect of your hardware. Anyway, guys, that's all I got time for today. I hope you have a great day. Utini!